This video is an offshoot from our American-made red dot series. Sig wanted to send me a Romeo Zero to review. The Romeo Zero is a compact pistol sight assembled in the USA with a 6 MOA dot. However, I didn't have any pistols that were capable of mounting this particular type of sight. It's compatible with the Shield RMS C pattern and the J point pattern, but all of my pistol slides are cut for Delta Point Pros and Aim Point Acros, and I think I have one for an RMR lying in a bin somewhere. So they did opt to send me this P365 XL, which is a compact 9mm handgun. It ships with two 12-round magazines. Size-wise, this handgun is somewhere between the Glock 43 and the Glock 48. So let me lock the slide back and get this chamber flag thing out of it. But it's very tiny, particularly for being able to hold 12 rounds with a flush fit magazine. But despite how tiny it is, it doesn't feel that unnatural in my hand. The Romeo Zero itself is made from polymer in both the body and the lens. The battery is mounted from the bottom of the sight. You must remove the sight from the slide to replace it. It is a single CR1632 battery, and you can see the two screws here that you must remove to remove the sight from the pistol slide. Interestingly, the sight does have a rear notch molded into it that co-witnesses through the optic and works with the front sight that comes installed on the P365. The dot does have 8 adjustable brightness settings that can be changed with a tiny button that you can see inside the emitter area here, just behind the lens. Showing the brightness change on camera is going to be difficult because I have to put my finger right behind the lens to do that. You can see the brightness is getting higher. And see, I reached the end of the brightness spectrum, so it blinked. That's max brightness, and now it'll go back down. And as I mentioned, there are 8 brightness settings. So I think you really need to take a look at the dot in the lighting conditions you anticipate to use it in, which would mean if you have a weapon light mounted, turn the weapon light on, look into a dark area with the weapon light on, and adjust the dot to the brightness that you're going to be using it at, which for me most often is the same brightness level I'd be using it in the sun in Arizona. All right, brightness is going back up. Now Sig does tell me that these come bore sighted from the factory. So I'm going to do something a bit unconventional in that I am not going to check the zero of this sight before I go and use it at a match. The P365 is a striker fired pistol, and unlike a lot of others, it does not have any sort of trigger safety. It doesn't have a split trigger, doesn't have a hinge trigger, just a trigger. So the trigger pull is actually pretty good. If I had to guess, this one feels like it's right around 5 to 6 pounds, which is perfectly acceptable in a concealed carry pistol. Don't know that you'd want to go much lighter than that. And as you can see, the reset is pretty minimal. And the trigger is flat, and I am a big fan of flat triggers. I use flat triggers in all my ARs, so using a flat trigger in a handgun is my preference as well. Now the 365 field strips, just like its bigger brother, the 320. It'll lock the slide back, rotate takedown lever forward, and then the frame and the slide separate. There's no need to dry fire it for disassembly. Recoil spring comes out, barrel comes out of the slide, and that's it for the slide disassembly. Now the magazine catch is removable, but I'm not even going to attempt to do that on camera because there's a tiny spring and a tiny retainer piece that I'll most certainly lose if I attempt to do that while recording. But I did reverse it for left-handed operation. As you can see now, I can actuate the button with my thumb. Not sure if I want to use it in that configuration yet, because I'm so used to using my middle finger on my left hand to actuate magazine catches. So I'll try it both ways and see which way I like better. But a couple decades of training using pistols with magazine catches only on this side means I'll probably stick with this unless the magazine catch is accidentally being activated shooting it left-handed, because I am gripping right around that area, and under recoil I might hit that magazine catch button. So that's something I will need to test. So all I did before attending the match was dump one magazine of 15 rounds into the bullet trap to confirm that it functioned. I'm happy to learn on the clock that the gun is bore-sighted, as Sig said. I think having the red dot bore-sighted from the factory on a red dot equipped pistol is a very important thing to do. Most people aren't going to be able to zero the red dot on their handgun competently. They'll zero it to their bad trigger pull. But I am able to engage all these plates and make headshots successfully right out of the box with the P365. Shooting it is snappier than using my full-size red dot pistols, but that's to be expected because of its size. But once I get used to managing the recoil and acquiring the dot through the recoil cycle, it's a very capable gun. I didn't experience any problems or malfunctions while using the P365. Up against other competitors using full-size handguns, I place 3rd out of 9 in stealth division and 15th out of 80 shooters overall at this event. My friend Tim joined me at this event to get a right-handed shooter's perspective on it, and while his pistol shooting isn't on the same level as mine, he adapted to using the P365 quickly. I will note at this point that I left the magazine catch in right-handed mode. It worked better for me and for him. I just have too many reps of doing reloads with the mag catch on the right-handed configuration. After using a red dot on this compact handgun at a match, I believe that using the dot on a compact pistol makes even more of a difference in relative accuracy than on a full-size pistol. At the range with the P365 XL and the ransom rest, it came from the factory zeroed, but they later sent me this steel protective shield, and with that installed, I do of course need to re-zero the sight now. So, I start at 10 yards. There was clearly a big shift in the zero just from installing the protective shield, because that is a shim that goes underneath the sight as well, that the sight is fully enclosed in. So I tried zeroing the 365 with this shield they supplied later. Originally I got the 365 with just the Romeo Zero mounted to it. After installing the shield around the sight, I needed to re-zero it, and I could not get it zeroed. I was maxing out the windage adjustment, and I could feel the friction losing on as I was adjusting it out. And these are just friction retained screws. There's no clicks or anything like that. So once it was losing friction, I could see the dot kind of going all over the place once tension was lost on it. Removing the shield, the group size immediately improved, and it went back to being usable. So I understand why some people might want a shield on their pistol, but for a compact concealed carry pistol like this, I kind of question whether or not it's even really necessary. All right, I got it dialed in with the FMJ ammo I was shooting, so now I got some S&B hollow points. I'm going to shoot those through it and see how much the group shifts. I'd say that's pretty damn good at 30 yards with a subcompact handgun. So we have a pretty stark contrast in performance between the Magtech FMJ 115 grain ammo I was shooting to get my rough zero with, and the S&B 115 grain jacketed hollow point. I got a case of this back in March of 2020 because it was what was available, but I haven't really been shooting it up other than to test carry guns. We always want to test carry guns with some hollow point ammo. And here at 30 yards out of the ransom rest, I got basically a 3.5 inch group, and in the head a 2.5 inch group with those two shots. With the Magtech ammo, it was getting like a 7 to 8 inch group and barely staying on the target. couldn't get headshots successfully with it, even from the ransom rest. So very stark contrast in ammo quality. So it's also a demonstration of why you want a Zero with the stuff you're actually going to carry. So all in all, the Sig P365 XL is a very capable compact carry pistol. I think the addition of the Romeo Zero allows you to punch above its weight for a pistol this size, allowing you to do things that you would normally need a full-length iron sight pistol to do with a compact carry gun. Now, the only real downside I can say to using this configuration is that the battery life of the sight itself is relatively short, and you're probably going to need to change the battery every 1 to 2 months. Now, if you torque the screws back to the same position every time, the effects of that are minimal, but this is the trade-off of having a compact carry optic on a compact carry pistol. There's no good way to mount the battery on a sight this small and allow you to change it without removing it. But that said, if you're looking for something that's very concealable and very capable, I wouldn't hesitate to check out the P365 XL with the Romeo Zero.